With that, let's stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first item on our agenda this evening is approval of our minutes from May the 15th. Omissions or adjustments that need to be made?
No. None for me.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from May the 15th.
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Wigglesworth. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Johnson. Motion from Mr. Wigglesworth. Second from Mr. Johnson. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Okay, next up, we have some discussion, I believe, concerning Wilson Avenue and Tulane Terrace. I'm going to go to Mrs. Schweitzer perhaps on this. Is this the first time this has been on the agenda?
It has, yes.
Okay, that's the only question I have right now.
We have a representative from the Friends. Maybe they want to explain what you're doing, where you want to do it, and the reasons why. And then staff has some concerns that I'll turn over to Diane and Chief.
Okay,
Thank you. Can you hear me?
your name and address, please.
My name is Jean Bowl, 528 State Street, Lancaster City. I'm here representing the Lancaster Friends. The blue polka dot is the parking that we have on our own property. There's a blue stripe indicating our new walkway to the street, which we installed this year to get the pedestrians out of the parking lot, in particular, the children. To the right of that is a large green area, but that is a detention basin and not able to be used. When we have more than 20 cars, which is almost always, the overflow parking is indicated by the blue X. It's across the street in a commercial area. There is a stop sign at the intersection for traffic heading east on Wilson. It's partially obscured by brush, and there is no stop line. So motorists often say they're not clear where they're supposed to be stopping. It is a very unusual intersection. What we're asking for is a crosswalk.
Just one point of clarification there. Is that a parking lot or is that the street where the stop sign is?
The stop sign is on the street, and it's indicated on the map where it's located. The map that I passed out.
This is the shadow. Correct.
Crosswalk just east of that stop sign, which will line up perfectly with where we put our walkway. Traffic heading east on Wilson, it's not clear at all where they should stop, and most cars come to sort of a rolling stop, trying to see around the corner. Our overflow parking lot usually has about 25 cars, and that's usually where families are parking because the close parking to the building is used by people with mobility issues. So we would like to make it a little safer for families to get across to the meeting on Sunday mornings.
Go ahead. So I think just to preface this, she mentioned that Mrs. Bold did mention that this is a very odd intersection. It's very difficult to figure out what exactly is the intersection. Go ahead.
Okay. So staff was made aware of this request between the last traffic meeting and this one. And if this was even a potential that we could do it and what that looked like. And so as you can see both on her map, which is, looks like a screenshot of the Google map, this intersection is very strange. It is not a straight-on intersection. And if you look at the diagram that you have in your packet, you can see that there is a stop sign controlling eastbound traffic on Wilson Lane and a stop sign controlling westbound traffic on Wilson Lane, but two-lane terrace does not have any traffic control coming north or south. Looking at the constraints of the intersection, the only place a stop sign could potentially be added would be on southbound two-lane terrace due to the shape and geography of the intersection on the southbound side. There's nowhere to put a stop sign that's actually not just in the middle of the roadway. So I'll show you some pictures of what we looked at with this intersection. So we did go out and take a look at the current constraints of the intersection because the Google images are generally from 2019. So they don't show nearly the growth that we're seeing in the bushes that are along Wilson Avenue. If you look in this picture, you can see their mulch path directly across. On their property, there is significant bush growth right up to the roadway. There's no way for the cars coming any direction other than from the south to see the pedestrians there.
On whose intersection?
On the Friends property on the north side of Wilson Avenue. It's this tan piece right here is the mulch path that comes out. The stop sign that was mentioned is directly behind this large bush right here, significantly back from the intersection because again, there's no roadway surface here that is clearly delineated. That's actually roadway. It very much merges with the surrounding parking lot. This bush growth here, as well as this massive bush here, prevent any type of true visibility from northbound traffic to the west at all. So anyone coming north does not have a stop sign. They make a left turn. They will not see people crossing the road there in a crosswalk or not until they're around the corner through the intersection.
Do we have right of way on these roads, like into the property?
Perry?
There's a 33-foot right of way, right at about where the stop sign is. Because of the geography of the intersection and no curbing and the dual entrances to the parking lot, it kind of, the 33-foot right of way would continue straight into two-lane. Again, a lot of this got paved over the years from the parking lot people who own the shopping center. But again, where the stop signs are, there is definitely a 33-foot right of way there. And again, if you can imagine a straight intersection going into two-lane, would be 33 feet also.
So Perry, are those bushes that she's describing, actually all three bushes, right? One on the opposite side, the one where the stop sign is, and that other large bush that we were looking directly at, is that within the right of way?
They are pretty much outside of the right of way. The one at the stop sign, like the bare edge of it, maybe. I did not take a full measurement of that. But you can see by the Google image that where the storm sewer is and that line of pavement that's there coming out of their parking lot, that is probably the edge of the right of way right there. And coming across the street, it is probably the stop sign. It may just be barely in the right of way.
Do we have clear sight triangle? Any recorded?
Again, this is beyond this parking lot for the shopping center has been there. I'm going to say, I remember it being this way in the 70s. So this probably predates any clear sight triangle that we would enforce today. It is an odd intersection, just the way it's skewed. So, I mean, there's really not a lot going on at this point there that we could really change.
Can we do a little research and I'm assuming there's some plan somewhere with this, with a shopping center. You would think there would have to be, even if it's old. Sometimes they do have clear site noted on the plans. Maybe they don't have it recorded at the recorder of deeds, but some of those old plans do indicate that, you know, there should be a clear site.
Yeah, we can look back. I know this was probably built in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, possibly. The other issue being that we have no other crosswalks or stop bars in that area, the entire area, and the fact that if you would want to put a crosswalk across there, you would still have to do the ADA ramps on both sides, and going, you know, again, you'd be going into a parking lot that I'm not sure if they have any written permissions from the shopping center to actually access or use this parking lot. So again, that's just all stuff that would have to be researched.
Well, whether you have permission or not would be on the Friends, right, correct? And I assume that you probably have worked something out with the,
It is my understanding that we do. We've been using that lot for as long as that lot's been there. The meeting itself was built in the 50s.
okay. On Wilson, there's a stop sign in both directions.
Yes, on Wilson Avenue,
On
there's a
Wilson.
stop sign on both
Um,
directions.
any thought to perhaps moving the path? And you've done all this work already, the path from the right side over to the left side and coming out where there's more visibility.
There's a detention basin, if I understand you correctly. Further east from the path is a large water detention basin.
I'm talking about the west side of the, on the west side of the parking lot.
That's
parking
not our
area.
property,
So you have no property there.
correct? We have a skinny little bit with some bushes, but not enough for a path. And it would cause the pedestrians would then have to cross our part, which we were trying to get the children out.
It's the entire length of the back of the parking lot.
The commercial parking lot. Yes, that's correct. The place where we'd like the crosswalk is the one place where there's a gap.
Going back to Perry's comments about the landings, if you look at this picture and where the path lies, it does not in any way in a straight line up with a place that landing pad could rest on the commercial parking lot side, because this gap here is designated as an access point to the parking lot. And it would end up that the landing pad would be right out about here in that entrance. So it would end up being a skewed crosswalk to put the landing pads in on both sides.
So I guess for me right now, what I see, the walking or the crosswalk is secondary. I'm looking at an intersection that looks like a mess, right? To be blunt. And clear sight seems to be a big issue here. You know, there's some overgrown shrubs, that kind of stuff. I guess step one, can we work with all the neighbors or maybe contact the neighbors, see if we can get some of that stuff trimmed and make it so that the intersection can be safe as possible as it is. I hear what you're saying. I don't know if we have enough. Is it worth having Chris take a look at it?
I guess the question from staff back to you would be, how much money do you want to spend on it? Because the engineering study takes money, and then if it's determined it's possible, are you willing to put in the landing pads on either side for one business?
Can he just
Do a
give us a 1,000-foot view and just give us, I mean, without getting into all the engineering and that direct cost, can he just put his eyes on it and say, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense?
We can certainly have him do that. We can, we'll do some research on the plans. See if we have clear sight on any of them. Also reach out to the shopping center, see if we can get them to trim their bushes and maintain that a little better, and then see what it looks like.
Okay,
See if that improves things. You're right, the landing's gonna be difficult.
I would also suggest, just from our observation being out there, that it would be great if the Friends community would also trim their bushes back that are along that path. Because the traffic coming, if they're rolling through that stop sign and there's a kid coming down that path, they're never gonna see them because of how far out and how large the bushes are there. So backing the bushes, but trimming them back a little bit from the roadway would give better visibility to everybody. So you can't put it in the roadway, but you could certainly put it at the end of your walkway on your property there at the grass. Even one of those children crossing, the little plastic children with the flag, you could put that on the property. It just can't be out in the public roadway.
So what I'm hearing is that for now, we're going to take a cursory professional look at the location, and we'll see if we can get the hedges trimmed on both sides of the road.
Mm.
Okay, let's see what happens there. And why don't you give us 60 days to get that done? And then I guess the June, July, August traffic meeting, perhaps we'll take another look at this. Okay? Sounds good. Thank you.
Say that again. It's always the third Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m.
Just a question for my own learning. Can I have a 20-second overview of like what it takes to add a crosswalk like that? It sounded like there were costs for pads on both sides. And like, I'm looking at one,
I'm
the
sure
landing.
Barry could answer that for you.
Yeah, to install, a crosswalk at a normal intersection where it intersects at 90-degree angles would probably not be that big of a problem. The ADA ramps would still be an issue. But at least the sight distance wouldn't, be involved here. For this particular intersection, the geometric design of the intersection that's probably from the 50s, just really it's going to take a lot to configure this to a point where it is workable. Closing that one driveway and moving the stop sign closer to Tulane would be the optimal thing to do to get that to intersect properly. Today's specifications would not allow two driveways to be the way they are that close to the intersection. So again, it's just a matter of this was probably, not thought out very well in the 50s when they designed Tulane and Wilson at that point. So it's just, again, as far as that stop sign is sitting back, it's just not really good. They do have to do a stop. And if you remember when you took your driver's license, there was a provision that they made you stop and then pull front and stop again to look when you could see. And that's, I think, how this has been used for quite some time.
Is there a stop sign at Tulane and Wilson?
Not on Tulane. No, it is a straight through intersection. The two stop signs are on Wilson.
Could a stop sign be put on Tulane, just to stop a vehicle so that they're not racing around that bend?
Again, you would have to look at whether or not there's accidents there. That you cannot use stop signs for speed or that sort of thing. It's you have to really prove that it's justified. Again, as a lot of PennDOT stuff is, it usually depends on how many accidents there were there before.
Okay, thank you.
I, I think to Mr. Bennett's question, I mean, that's worth investigating too. It seems like the intersection's off. It's not a direct intersection. It does seem like there's some safety concerns. It's not like we're trying to control speed with it.
Geometrically looking at it when you're out there, the potential is greater to be able to put a stop sign southbound. But intersection is designed, this tree is the end of the intersection,
Yeah.
so to speak. This is all parking lot access here. And the end of the curb is significantly back from the roadway. So in order to put a stop sign in a way that would be safe and would control traffic, we would have to make modifications to the roadway to bring curbing or some type of designation that the intersection was more squared.
Could we
That a
look to
stop
use
sign would be visible.
striping And
I don't know that that would be feasible there with the geometry of the intersection because of how wide it is over here. I think there would have to be a physical designation somehow because of just how wide it is. It's almost 5 lanes wide from side to side when you're at this intersection because of the way the pavement is.
but somewhere the roadway and right-of-way end and the parking lot begins, right? I think there's got to be a way to delineate that.
Yeah, I mean, if you would probably survey that intersection, if you're looking at the picture now, on the left-hand side where you see the in and out arrows to the parking lot, if you could close that upper driveway, and actually put curbing in with a very tight radius at the very top where our right-of-way would be. I mean, you could put a stop sign just about where she has the pointer right now. And that would certainly give you a really good clear sight of any traffic coming. But again, it's that driveway that is the problem there. I'm assuming that where she has the pointer is probably about where the right of way is at that intersection.
Also concerned about southbound also. There's nothing southbound stopping traffic.
Correct. I mean, I think there's clear sight coming southbound. I don't think that has ever been an issue. It is basically the traveling north, and seeing anything to the left. Again, with the people going east and west, again, if they have to stop at the stop sign where it currently is, they do have to drift forward, to look and see if there are any vehicles. As the same with going westbound, that person has to kind of drift out into the intersection to see if there is anything, again, coming northbound from Columbia Avenue.
So we'll pull plans and take a look at it and see what we can figure out and get back to you with some further information on the intersection itself and where things lie.
I think we need to do something. Okay.
Yeah. Well, one more point to belabor the issue. So Scott had just talked about painting a line about where there is a stop sign right now, like right behind that red bush where, yes. Yeah. Is that feasible or helpful? Like,
You can certainly do that again, but anybody who stops at that stop bar still does have to probably pull at least, it looks like almost 2 full car lengths to get a good view of anything coming northbound onto Lane.
Yeah, I mean, I think take an overall comprehensive look, and I agree, Tom, if we can't move the stop sign, I think everything that we can do to make it better, we should do. But I do think if we can move that stop sign out to where it makes sense, it would be better. I'll be curious to see what Chris' quick assessment of it is.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, next up, we have a traffic report from the chief.
We spent the last month hitting a lot of the spots that have been on the report the past few months. Had a number of speed details at some of these locations as well as others. So.
Mike, on these speed studies. Poor to get an accurate we have Like, let's just look at Leebrook Road. 36 mph average speed. 85th percentile is 42. We had 10 above the 85th percentile, correct? Which was 6%, and there were 587.
It's 587 vehicles that were clocked during the period of time that were 10 miles per hour over the speed limit, so over 35 miles an hour.
You have
And
to
then-
also keep in mind what the leeway is when enforcement occurs.
So I would be looking more at focusing on the 15 mile per hour
So,
numbers.
so there were 15 or 2% of the 173.
Correct.
Um,
Junction,
Road,
South
out in that-
Colebrook,
out in that area
Greystone.
there where we have a potentially a significant issue.
Yeah, I would say if you're looking at the percentage over the 15 mile per hour, 4 and up would be something of note of which we need to start taking some measurements at. The 1 and 2% are going to be kind of a norm and standard. You're going to always have some outliers.
And I would assume continued enforcement would be the plan there, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can we talk a little bit about this? So you did a study on Running Pump Road also,
Yes.
based on a concern from a resident, I assume?
Yes, sir.
And that's after you make the right onto the old portion of Running Pump, right?
Yes. And since the complaint came in, we've run 8 speed details down there. We've put our signs up and have been monitoring the area the best we can, but with being a 25 mile per hour zone and realistically a cut through to some of the industry or to avoid Roarstown Road.
You,
Yeah, we're 12.
based on the speeds in the 2024 speed study.
Yes, between the last 2 years, we can see an increase in speeds down there.
So Running Pump was on your meeting agenda last month. I was not present, so I just wanted to add it this month just to reinforce the fact that a resident household on that roadway really has a concern and has expressed that in several times to the township. And this does clearly indicate that there's a problem. This might be one that we have to look at more empowering controls on the roadway to slow traffic down.
So I know in other areas, right, we've done road painting and we've got the signs that we alternate. Have we put those?
We've had
Signs there,
signs down there.
yeah.
Yeah, that's this area is a hot enforcement area, but it's still occurring.
Yeah, the
Okay.
signs are currently down there as we speak.
Okay.
And Running Pump is 25 miles an hour?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have that
Uh,
marked, sorry. But I area. It's not a curbed roadway. So we're talking probably somewhat enforceable, somewhat effective in slowing traffic. Because we could do bump outs, we could do things like that, but not sure what the answer is.
So I guess can we start with the inexpensive stuff like
We
the
can put the lines,
lines?
yeah.
Don't we have like slow down or slow something on Spring Valley?
We had that, I think, on Spring Valley and Nisley.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have it on Nisley as well.
Can we also maybe look at that painting?
Sure. Yeah,
Wow.
we'll have a chat with Chris as well. Tell him that we've got a little bit of an issue here. Any suggestions that he might have?
Okay.
Sounds good. And then, Farmingdale Barcrest, the contract closeout. I think we all got, Mrs. Schweitzer's letter earlier or, attached to our, Board of Supervisor agenda. We're gonna give Chris some more time to close out that contract and, make whatever changes or make a recommendation on whatever success analysis to see if what we thought was going to happen is happening, and if there's any additional action that we might need to take to improve the situation there, whether that be replacing, removing, widening, whatever. So I think that's where we are on the Farmingdale Barcrest, and we're gonna wait to hear what Chris has to say about the fourth speed bump that was pulled from Bar Boulevard also. So it's still on the radar. Okay. New business. Who wants to tell us about the Old Roarstown Road?
So this was a new concern. This is Old Roarstown Road near the Lowe's entrance. It's a one-way street going south? No, south. As you can see, the
No,
real.
goes
con-
north, south is the
north,
problem,
yeah.
sorry.
The real concern is that this wrong-way street, there's 71 vehicles over a period of a week that are going the wrong way. And that was one of his concerns. In addition to speed, I don't think the speed is really an issue. It's a perception issue, but the wrong way traffic. We'll ask Chris to take a look at it and see if there's anything in addition we can do. We did put do not block intersection up. That was one of his concerns. We did take a look at the signage, working on that, making sure that's all up to snuff.
Perhaps we'll have to utilize one of those car rental exit, you know, that's
Spike.
where you can get in, but you can't get out. Okay. And maybe some additional enforcement, you know.
Yep, we've had somebody down there the past couple days watching, so.
Good, awesome. Okay. Thank you. Other than that, any public comment tonight? This evening? Okay, hearing none. Does the board have anything additional? Hearing none, Bob,
No.
okay, hearing none, we'll adjourn the meeting at 6:36.